You can watch it later. All right. So again, welcome to the Child Neurology Program Director panel. My name is Jake Hansen. I'm a fourth year at Rocky Vista University College of Osteopathic Medicine on the Colorado campus, and I'm one of the NMatch leaders this year applying into child neurology, and I'm so happy to have this program director panel for you all tonight. Just kind of wanted to give a little bit of a brief overview of tonight's session. So we'll have a little bit of introductions from each of the program directors, and then we'll open it up essentially to a large Q&A session so that you all can get your questions answered tonight. If you don't already know, NMatch is a medical student-run initiative that is funded during the residency cycle of 2020 to 2021. And since then, we have really strived on promoting online networking, education, and information sharing within the neurology community, providing resources for both adult and child neurology residency applicants. So some of the initiatives that we like to do throughout the year are a mentorship program, an event calendar, program features, and kind of sharing when programs have their open houses throughout this season. And then we also like to host some educational panels. So this program director panel, some resident panels, and mock interviews. Tonight, we have four amazing program directors from across the US. So we have Dr. Mangum, Dr. Nelson, Dr. Novera, and Dr. Strelzik, and they will all kind of give a brief introduction to each of their programs. And then again, like I said, we'll just open it up to a question and answer. So Dr. Novera, do you want to go first? I will go ahead
Sure.
and stop sharing my slides and you can go ahead and share yours.
Excellent. I hope everybody's doing well this evening. I am Sarah Navera. I'm humbled and really honored to be invited tonight. I serve as the program director at UAB, as Jake already said. And I'll tell you, as an out-of-stater, I never thought that I would be in Birmingham practicing child neurology and privileged to work with amazing residents. But we have such a good thing going and we're constantly evolving. It's been too good to be true, and I've stayed. So I will show you. I think y'all can see my slides. But this is our amazing children's hospital, conveniently hooked on to University Hospital at UAB. And I always tell people out my back door is the wonderful downtown of Birmingham with a lot of green spaces. So it really is not only a wonderful place to be with a lot of young professionals, but also a great place to work when you walk outside. At our child neurology program, we have a diverse leadership team. Of course, I could not do what I do without the amazing Tony Davison. Right here, he's our program coordinator. Tony is nationally respected within the child neurology program coordinator community. She often speaks at Child Neurology Society meetings, and I'm really blessed to have her camaraderie and what she gives to our residency program, our faculty, and our residents. And then on the right are the five amazing individuals on our faculty who go above and beyond for our trainees and are part of our education leadership committee. So there's not just one assistant program director, there's several people that bring different pieces of expertise really to our program leadership. The top two boxes, I'll introduce them in a second, but they focus on scholarship and mentorship. The second line is, of course, we always need to have innovative curriculum. And so Dr. Layler helps us with that. And then Dr. McGrath helps us always look at how we can embrace diverse populations and access and engagement. And then Dr. Marcus at the bottom is in charge of making sure we have the best didactics possible. And I think that they have contributed so much since I became program director in 2020. So, as many people know, and I know that other program directors on this call are also very much acquainted as we share categorical programs, but we are a 5-year combined residency program at UAB. We've been ACGME accredited since 1988. We are, as a mission, designed to educate and empower trainees to not only be patient-centered child neurologists, but be very well-trained and well-rounded. We really think that our trainees need to excel both inside our walls and outside our walls. We do take 2 residents a year, and the goal over the next 5 years is to expand to a 3-spot program. But we really want all of our applicants to know you don't need to apply separately to our categorical PEDS residency program. You just need, if you're interested in UAB, to apply to our child neurology program. Our graduates are eligible to sit not only for the American Board of Psychiatry and Neurology with special certification in child neurology, but if they're interested, they can also sit for the American Board of Pediatrics. If I'm not mistaken, over 95% of child neurology graduates nationwide tend most recently to just sit for ABPN, but we do offer the opportunity to sit for both, and we have an exceptional pass rate for ABPN boards. I've only had one trainee in the last 10 years sit for ABP, and he did it because he thought it would contribute to his career of being a medical director, and he passed. So even with just 2 years of pediatrics at our program, he passed with flying colors for peds. And we do have a non-ABP track, which means that if you want to dip your toe in child neurology electives as a PGY2, you can. We ask our PGY1s to decide that in the spring of their PGY1 year, versus keeping on with the traditional ABP track so that they're eligible for both boards. So overall at UAB, we really believe we have great education in the three pillars: child neurology, adult neurology, and peds, and we're a family. You're going to go in your interviews virtually and meet a lot of different great programs across the US. And we do believe everywhere that there's tremendous people and great training. But we really do think we have a great thing going on with our culture, and that goes from our peds program to our adult program to our child neurology program. Our PGY 1 and 2 years are really solid Gen Peds, like I said, and that non-ABP track is allowing our trainees in the PGY 2 year to do 3 electives and whatever really strikes their fancy within child neurology. Our PGY 3, 4, and 5 years are completing the ACGME requirements right now for 12 months of adult neuro. We do 9 months during the PGY 3 and 3 months during the PGY 5. And then we fulfill the ACGME requirement with 24 months of child neurology inpatient, outpatient, and electives. And we have copious electives, which is very well supported by a number of our subspecialists within and outside our division. We have weekly child neurology continuity clinics with the PGY 3s, 4s, and 5s on Tuesday afternoons. And they really love it because they get to be with all different types of child neurologists that attend that clinic. They have the opportunity not only to learn from me, but also my wonderful colleagues. We have 21 child neurologists, general and subspecialists. We cover all the subspecialties in child neurology, which is so wonderful. And they really do, provide care for not only the people of Alabama, but across the Southeast and beyond. And I do think it's important for trainees or applicants to know that all required rotations are on our campus. So when you park in the morning, you've parked for the day, and it's safe and free parking. A lot of people ask us about our pediatric epilepsy monitoring unit and our surgical program, which is quite robust, and we have the highest level of epilepsy care for our kids. I will make a comment. This is last year's PGY1 class, or a lot of them, categorical peds, med peds, peds genetics, and child neuro. They are all given an extra week of vacation at the end of the PGY1 year. And they, along with myself this weekend, get to travel to the beach and enjoy an extra week with colleagues. So what's so cool about the hospital in which we work? We've been open at Children's since 1911. We're the only freestanding peds hospital in the state of Alabama. So if you're sick in Alabama, you're coming to us. We are the only level 1 pediatric trauma center in our state, and we were ranked one of the top 10 busiest children's hospitals last year in our nation. We have a pediatric ECMO center of excellence, so sometimes we have consults there. We have 1,000 critical care transports coming from the outside to our helipad and to our ER. We have approximately 380 patient beds, in case you're curious about numbers, and we are growing. This beautiful building in which we get to work is attached to the original Children's Hospital building. And so you can tell that over many years we have expanded quite a bit. And the 12th floor of this wonderful building that opened in 2012 was left vacant because if you build it, they will come. And right now it'll be open to extend our care, extend our beds in 2026, which is pretty cool. We do have a dedicated inpatient rehab center for kids, which is really awesome in our region. That's one of the things that does not pop up on every corner. We have a pretty good sized PICU, as you can see, a step down unit, which in some children's hospitals would be a part of the PICU, but we teach our trainees how to care for kids in the step down units. We have a large CVICU just for kids, and we have 2 NICUs, a surgical and a medical NICU, in which we do consults. We have 59,000 ED visits in the last year and 16,000 inpatient admissions annually. I like to give more numbers just so that you're curious as you look at different programs, but we did over 2,100 Peds Neuro consults last year, over 9,500 separate outpatient visits, and then we did over 1,900 telehealth visits. And I'll tell you, we train our trainees to do telehealth because I'm a firm believer it's not going anywhere after COVID. This is our campus. It is hooked on to not only University Hospital for Adults, which you see in the blue here, but also a quite expansive, beautiful undergraduate campus, which is the University of Alabama at Birmingham. This is separate than the University of Alabama at Tuscaloosa, which a lot of people associate with football. This campus is known for the research and for the high quality education that's given. We are right here. We have four buildings, including the bigger one that I just showed you, and it's all walkable inside. We have an indoor walking track that spans University Hospital and Children's. It's 1.2 miles. And if you have time during the day, our trainees are getting their exercise in. These are the other buildings in which we offer training. You can see that Children's is right here, and we're hooked on to a beautiful building called the Women and Infant Center where our mothers have their babies, and they're kept near their babies if they have trials and tribulations that lead them to be in the medical NICU. Next to that, connected by a walkway, is the University Hospital of UAB, where our adult care takes place on an inpatient side and rehab side. Down here is a multi-million-dollar outpatient clinic building called the Kirkland Clinic. And across the street from University is the Birmingham VA. And our trainees get to spend a little bit of time there. They don't have a clinic there, but they do get to see some really interesting pathology in their outpatient clinic that's staffed by faculty, not the trainees. We have, like I said, diverse faculty. When I trained at UAB, I started in 2012. There were 7 generalists and 3 epileptologists. We have grown and we are still growing because the kids of Alabama and the Southeast need us, and we want to have diverse faculty for our trainees. We have neurogenetics, we have movement disorders, we have headache proceduralists for children, we have neuromuscular, we have demyelinating, we have epilepsy all the way across here. And then you have Dr. McGrath and I, who both practice general neurology but have a special heart for pediatric stroke and run our monthly stroke clinic. Salman Rashid is the head of our neurocritical care program down here. And then Stephen Walker is a neonatal neurologist, fellowship trained, who came last year. And recently we recruited Catherine Brown, who's asterisk at the bottom because I don't have a great picture of her yet. But she joins us next month as our second neonatal neurologist. And then Scott and Sam help in both our headache clinics and our neuromuscular clinics. Everybody asked me about PGY 3 through 5, the details in the call. So why not talk about it? I think it's important, again, for you guys to know that we split the PGY 3-year up, 9 months of adult. We do in-house buddy adult neurology call, which is important for you guys to ask about on the trail. Our trainees are never alone, and they only do 9 months of call. There's 3 months of child neurology back with us. They usually run across the bridge, pretty excited to see their home, and they're able to dip their toe even more so in our clinics, EEG, and consults. In the 4th and 5th year, we again do what most programs do in terms of ACGME requirements for consults or inpatient service. We are consult only. We have at least 4 months of child neurology clinics all across the board, general and subspecialty, and then they're able to work with some of our colleagues in the areas you see there, and a lot of electives. Our PGY5s each have one pre-tending rotation where we as attendings try to sit on our hands, and in the spring of the PGY5 year, they run the ship. And it's really important for them to do that because I think that they can really grow in the spring and feel confident in their skills. They keep doing electives in PGY5. Honestly, out of the 12 blocks that year, they're doing 10 months of what they want to do because they've usually completed a lot of their prerequisites before then. And then they go back across the street to do 3 months of adult neuro, and you might go, oh my gosh, why do I have to go back? But if they're doing Neuropath adult neuroclinics and non-elective, they're probably brushing up on boards, and that's really, really important. We create trainee-specific tracks. We don't have a specific group of tracks. We meet individually with our trainees, and we feel like we have an amazing faculty trainee ratio where we can make sure that they have a track that is based on their specific interests and what their mentor is thinking in terms of mentorship for them. For call, I told you I'd get back around to it. Our 3s and 5s have a hybrid of night float, Monday through Friday night, and weekend home call. So learning what it is to take call from home and call inside the hospital. Our call pool is made up of not only our 3s, 4s, and 5s, but also PGY 3s who are doing their 3 months that's required of adult neurology being over in child neurology. These are some of our electives. I need to give more time to my colleagues, so I'm not going to go through them all, but we have a lot of really great electives that our trainees take advantage of, and the bold ones are very, very popular. We have really well-rounded trainees and graduates. So beyond just our program, we encourage them to really think about what they're interested in, whether it's healthcare disparities, global health, medical education. We have research QI of any flavor. I'm kind of passionate about QI, so I won't digress, but we really make sure that they have extra interest beyond their training. And we have trainees that have academic appointments. We have trainees that have gone into a variety of subspecialty fellowships, and we have several at UAB. And then we also have people that are enjoying private practice. So bottom line, we have really a great system going. We're constantly evolving and trying to improve for the purpose of training these residents to go out and do exactly what they want to do. This is a busy slide, and I hate busy slides, but if you go to our website, you'll see this again. And basically, broadcast that we have protected time every single day for our trainees, often with free lunches, to really dive into not only child neurology, but adult neurology and peds. We often have our trainees going to external neurology conferences, and we strive to send each one of our threes, fours, and fives to at least one conference annually. We've sent them to the conferences you see listed there, but the list keeps expanding every year, and we're quite proud of them because they work really hard and they need to share the goodness that they are promoting with other people. They each have an educational fund of just over $1,600 a year, and our rule at UAB is if you present, you're paid for, and that does not come out of your educational fund. Wellness is a huge part of our program, and I think every program represented on the call tonight. But I will point out that we don't live our lives on interstates. We don't get stuck in much traffic. It's a 15 to 20-minute drive to work. I still live in the neighborhood where I lived when I was a trainee. It's very affordable. And we have social events within our division every 3 months and a retreat annually so that they get to see the state of the nation within our division, and it's protected time as well. We have great sports teams. They may not be major league, but they funnel into major league, and so that's exciting. We have a great history of our civil rights and how far we've come in the South. We just had our annual Sidewalk Film Festival for independent directors last weekend, and we have the brand new Coca-Cola Amphitheater. We just had Teddy Swims, Ben Rector. We've got Fish coming. A lot of really good, James Taylor, a lot of really good bands and ways to walk. Just beyond this amphitheater is children's. So it's really exciting that we've got a lot of stuff within walking distance. And I can go on, but I will say I'm at the beach right now. I just got here and it only took me 4 hours to leave Birmingham, finish up work, and get down here with my family. We're 1 hour in Birmingham to the lakes, 2 hours to the mountains, and the Birmingham airport. I can get there 45 minutes ahead of my flight, and I'm good to have nonstop flights all over the country. So I would love for you guys to touch base with us if you have any other questions. We really do think we have a great thing going with a lot of big city amenities. And if you have any other thoughts and questions, I'm happy to go from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing more about your program. Dr. Strelzik, do you want to go next?
Yes, I do. I'm gonna pull up my slides real quick. I like how I tried to blur out the Barbie house in my background, and it looks just like a Barbie house but blurred.
Jeff, I was going to ask, I really was.
No, it's for me. It's my special place. It's where I go when I just need time for myself. All right, let me share these slides. Can y'all see? Wait, yeah. Can you see them now?
Yes.
Thumbs up. That's what I like. All right. Well, I cannot say that the cost of living in DC is what it is in Birmingham, or that you won't sit in traffic unless, like me, you don't even have a car during residency and you just take public transportation. Right, Aaron? You know what I'm talking about? That's right. Um, but I'm gonna just touch on a few different things about our program at Children's National in Washington, D.C. I'll try to give you a good overview. There's some action-packed slides that hopefully you can get some things from. And then we have some YouTube videos that really have a full program overview. If you search for Children's National Washington, D.C., you'll be able to find some good overviews. and informational things that are much longer, like an hour long. If you want to listen to me talk for an hour, you can also like speed through. You can listen at 2x, whatever you like. So I'm the program director, Jeff Strelzik, Elise Genser and Ali Kornblue are associate program directors. They are wonderful and keep me in check. Rachel Beal is our program coordinator, and you can always feel free to reach out to any of us. And then Mark DiSabella, our former program director, is still involved as the education director for our program. All right, let's see. Perfect. So a little bit about our educational and leadership philosophy. We are all about adult learning theory. We really believe that you guys are adults at this point. We don't have to tell you what to learn. We just have to help you learn it. And so when you're actively engaged and you understand what your needs are, that's the best way for you to learn. And we really try to set you up to do that. We really believe in experiential learning that happens through exposure and feeling personally responsible for patients and being able to see a diverse um, uh, type of patient, diverse types of patients, diverse um, presentations clinically in a diverse city. We think that fellows need to be engaged in the program. We have meetings twice a month to talk about what's going on, boots on the ground style, where you guys get to tell us what is actually happening and what needs to change. And then it's our job to be flexible enough to mold the program around that. We use a lot of QI to do those things, but all of the educational decisions and things that we're doing are based on fellow involvement and fellow suggestions. And so there's potentially some big changes that may happen, and all of that is based on what our fellows are telling us are important to them. We think that training programs need to be adaptable and fluid. They need to be able to undergo change frequently, and that's why we have these meetings and we make these changes. And if you want to know about all the different changes that we can make, I'll show you a slide that just has a few examples. And then we also feel like our main job is just to provide the resources necessary for each person to achieve their goals. We really believe in that sort of independent learning style, just like Sarah mentioned, having each learner really feel like they're able to tell us their goals and then have us help achieve them instead of us trying to sort of churn out the typical child neurology resident from Children's National. We don't really have one of those. And so our job is really to provide the leadership and guidance, but to take you where you want to go. Some strengths and best practices. We've recently changed our curriculum. Over the last 2 years, it was completely revamped the didactic curriculum to meet the board topics by percentage. We're organizing them now into theme days, which is really cool. And then we went to happy hour after one of our theme days. It was great. It was a headache theme day, so we did some injections. We did a little bit of board review. We did a little bit of other really active learning styles that we can now do with a half day of education each week. The fellows sign out to the attending at noon and have no clinical responsibilities. The attendings sign into the pagers, they sign in to the phones, and they're on call. You are not the attending signs out. You are done after your day of learning. And it's been really nice because the threes and like everyone from 3 to 5 comes together. It's in person so that everybody can sort of have some camaraderie. And it's actually been really, really nice. Our hospitalist group, so you'll see that we have a few different services, and it's now split up to really maximize or optimize the way that we're teaching on each individual service and giving more one-to-one time for fellows. And it's actually better for patient care that way, we found also. We have a resident wellness retreat where the program director and APDs take call for a night so that the rest of the program is able to get together. We have our Jeopardy system to make sure that people feel like they're able to take days when they need them, especially if they're not feeling well or they have a child who is sick or something like that. We have lots of multidisciplinary clinics, which I'll touch on. We are really proud of our culture of autonomy. It's really a graduated system in your PGY 3 year. We're building in all kinds of supports, and then we're slowly allowing you to fly the more that you show us that you're ready, so that by the end of your 5th year, you're practicing essentially independently. We really want learning to be based on transformational experiences and keeping you in that zone where you're not feeling unsafe, but feeling just a little uncomfortable enough where you have to learn to get to that next step. That's really where we want to keep everybody for that transformational growth. We have a formal mentorship program that begins in your PGY 1 year. We just instituted some chief roles to foster personal and professional growth for our chiefs. It allows them to have some different administrative roles with their own goals and objectives for the year. So if the education chief wants to do something specific, then that's their role for the year. It's not pre-dictated by what we think the role for the chiefs should be. We have some interinstitutional educational collaboratives. We started a neurogenetics curriculum with the University of Michigan, and now we're including nationwide children's in that. So that's been a lot of fun. And then, as Aaron can attest, we have a strong presence in digital education. We really believe that we need to train our trainees for the next generation to understand how digital tools and technology are going to both impact and improve the ability for us to care for children and to balance our jobs with our wellness. Um, in terms of the path, PGY 1 and 2 is at Children's National. Your 3 year is mostly adults, split between Georgetown, GW, the VA, and Washington Hospital Center. Most of those are clustered right in this little campus, but you do have to go a little further away for Georgetown, because that's how Georgetown is. And then 4 and 5 year, you're back at Children's. A few numbers. So 25,000 neurology patients a year. We have lots of beds. We have 44 neurology providers. We have lots of PICU beds. We run one of the top NICUs in the country, and we have 4 categorical positions and 1 reserved position that we offer. This is just a look at our child neurology curriculum. The broad strokes is that PGY 3 year is mostly adults. We do bring people back for a few times throughout their PGY 3 year, both to take call and also for these blocks of wards or ICU where they're on buddy call and then doing it independently. We found that people really want earlier exposure to subspecialties. Now that there's so many more ACGME accredited programs, you really do need to apply early. And so getting that early exposure is important. And we've tried to build that in the more that these have become prevalent. Our PGY 4 year is more heavy on the inpatient side, but with the addition of a 5th fellow, we've actually been able to expand the number of electives that you can do in your 4th year. And that's really true in your 5th year where you're doing many months. And when I say blocks here, I'm really talking months, 4 week blocks. And so in your 5 year, you're doing more outpatient and elective time, covering a little bit of inpatient time still, doing some night float, and then finishing up your adult requirements in that year. Not taking any adult call though. Like I said, we have a few different services. We have our ward service where you really function as a fellow. We have interns, a senior resident, then we have our fellow, and then the attending. We also have an NP who supports that service. Our consult service has the adult neurology residents with a neurology fellow overseeing them, and then the neurohospitalist attending who's assigned to just consults. We have a PICU and a CI service where we have 2 neurocritical care trained NPs that support that service, the neurology fellow and an attending, and then you have the peds residents that we co-round with the PICU team on a neurocritical care service. Our NICU has a neonatal neurology attending and a neonatal neurology fellow oftentimes. And then on months when the neonatal neurology fellow is on like half elective or is not in the NICU at all, then our fellows are covering in the NICU by themselves with the NICU attending. We have a very strong NICU program. We switched to a night float service because we felt like it was better for learning and patient care. It also helped to really control duty hours so that nobody was going over. It's sort of a control mechanism for that. So we've really found that to be a successful program. And then we have an outpatient service where 1 neurology fellow is paired with a neurology attending for 2 weeks of outpatient service time. And you're seeing essentially all new patient visits, learning how to get those new patients in, and then you're funneling them into your continuity clinic so that you really have your own patients that you're following throughout the rest of your time. This is just a busy slide to impress you with how many subspecialty clinics we have. That's it. I'm not going to stay on this slide for more than that. We have a lot of fun non-clinical experiences. We have a few of our attendings who work part of the year in Malawi. One of them is in Malawi for at least 6 months a year, the other in Ethiopia for a good portion of time. We've had many fellows that have been to both of those places. There's some other places in Italy and across the world that we have good connections with for international electives if people are interested in that, either in their peds years or in their neurology years, or in my case, both. We also have this residency fellowship in health policy, which is a health policy certificate course that's only offered to residents at GW and Children's National. It's run through the GW School of Health Policy, and is a really wonderful course that I did. In the morning, it's didactics. In the afternoon, it's site visits. So like the White House and Congress and the Supreme Court and a lot of things that really are only possible in Washington, D.C. We have a mini master teacher program. It is meant to be for people who are interested in medical education. We have lots of opportunities for neurology on the Hill when the AAN group comes to Washington, D.C. We have a large delegation, and then we have those chief roles that I mentioned. This is just to show a few of the different things that we've started based on input from our fellows for what would improve their experience. And the point here is just that we use QI for all of these things. So we make a change, we use some of the basics of QI to make sure that we're actually getting the effect that we want from that change. And so you can see that there's lots of changes that we've made here, and this is sort of a small list of them. We have lots of clinical research programs. This is a mock-up of our clinical research institute, which is on the Walter Reed campus that we bought recently and own in conjunction with Johnson and Johnson. There's lots of both mature and developing programs in lots of subspecialty areas. So whatever it is that you're interested in, you will find mentors for research. So why come to Children's? It's one of the top programs in the country with a large diverse patient population. We have a diverse faculty with trainees that get opportunities for all kinds of clinical, educational, and research opportunities. We have the separate services of neurohospitalists, neurocritical care, neonatal critical care, consults, and night float. We are really devoted to education. Everything we do is based on a lens of what will be best for our fellows and checking to make sure that really happened by using quality improvement techniques. We have a dedicated board review, high ABPN pass rates. We're certainly focused on resident wellness. Our leadership will advocate for you every step of the way, and it's a great city. I love Washington, D.C., and I could talk about it for a long time, but I will let some other people talk. Thank you, guys. I am very honored to be able to present, and thanks for allowing me to be here.
Thank you so much for sharing more about Children's National. Dr. Mangum, do you want to go next?
If I can work my microphone, yes. I am not nearly as cool as the two previous presentations as I do not have slides. So my apologies. Phoenix Children's Hospital, we're here in the Valley. I don't know if you guys saw the news of the haboob that came through a couple of nights ago. It was kind of interesting to watch a wall of sand coming at you. And then suddenly you started tasting it. And I was like, this is the time to go inside. So we survived quite the windstorm, lots of trees down, but that doesn't happen excessively often, but it's kind of cool when it does. That is not a selling point. I should stop talking about it. Okay, moving on. So our program is set up obviously very similar to everybody else. You have the ACGME rules. So we do PGY 1 and 2 year in the pediatric program. Our pediatric program is on the XY schedule. So during their Y week, during your PGY 2 year, you do 1 day of each of those weeks purely with neurology. The rest of your Y week you can spend doing whatever it is that you would like, but you do have exposure to neurology during that week, every week, whether you want to or not, I guess. I don't know. And then the end of your PGY 2 year, our pediatric residency has kindly gifted us a block where we bring you into our fold and do an entire transition month where it's just you guys getting lectures from us. As an update, you are spending time with our sort of rounding with our group and not being expected to participate in patient care. So just see how we actually run the wards from a neurology side, not necessarily from the pediatric side that you're seeing it before. Rotating through clinics, so you kind of get a sense of how our residents run their clinics, and then spending a week for boot camp at the adult hospital as well. And we do build time in for an entire week of PTO during that block. So that I think is something that we started a couple of years ago, almost on a whim, and it has gotten wonderful feedback. And every year we're making a couple more changes. And this year, one of our PGY4s, his goal is to make it the most optimal period of time ever, which I think is great. For us, we break down the years of neurology. Your PGY 3 year is spent 6 months in the adult hospital doing inpatient, and then the rest of the time is spent in child neurology. You do a month or a block, which is 4 weeks here, of child neurology inpatient, just so you kind of get a sense of how it goes, and then that way you're more comfortable being on call. You only do night call at the children's hospital. You do not do it in the adult land. There is call over there, but it's short call, and you're always buddied up. So we have you see our system and how it works before you do any call with our group. But yeah, we try to get rid of all of your inpatient requirements of your adult year, the PGY3 year. The reason why we put child neurology in for the rest of that year is our residents were like, hey, just as you've heard, I need to apply to a whole bunch of programs, and I have no idea if I actually like epilepsy or not because I've only seen it in the adult world. So we made that transition a couple of years ago and gotten positive feedback on it. During your PGY 4 year, we actually have a dedicated clinical neurophys course that is a block long. It is run by our clinical neurophys providers as well as the PGY 5s. To get an idea, you do EMGs, EEGs, you just sort of stab each other every so often, get to participate in sleep studies, like the whole nine yards. We've actually been blessed that we were given that time and space so that people can enjoy learning in a lot more centered atmosphere. Just, hey, I have a patient that we think has botulism. I'm going to run to the bedside while they do the EMG. Is that okay if I skip a little bit of rounds? So it's a little bit more centered for that. Not that we don't allow you to run to the bedside to see an EMG, especially for botulism, because that's kind of fun. Then during your PGY 4 and 5 year, you are also making up all of the adult electives that you didn't have the opportunity to do, or the obligation, I guess, to do during your PGY 3 year, which again is kind of nice because it does make you remember what dementia is and how you are going to be able to answer the questions that are coming at you on the boards. Um, let's see, I haven't had a single resident sit for PEDS boards. So that's interesting. I have had people ask me about it. And now I don't know if you guys know, this is probably a question that I should have participated in earlier, how the boarding requirements are going to be with the new ABP guidelines. I'm not entirely sure how that works. And I don't, so somebody please educate me in that. Um, but yeah, during your PGY 5 year, it's much more relaxed. And we do have you do a pretending month, and we let you do that however you would like. You can see patients on your own on the inpatient service. You can round as the attending on the inpatient service. You see patients in the outpatient clinic and just kind of have an attending sort of bouncing in and out of your clinic and let you master it as the attending, sort of as an introduction to what you're going to be doing in X number of months whenever you graduate. We have, I think, 24 faculty, and Angus is out beating the bushes, as he says, hiring more. We are lucky in that we have a multitude of subspecialists. We have 3 movement doctors, which I didn't know people had that many for a program that isn't exactly giant. Speaking of which, we have currently 4 categorical residents a year. We are petitioning our hospital to go up to 6, but since there's a lot of questions about what all of these government mandates are going to be, everybody's just kind of holding their breath and waiting to see what changes are going to be made. So the goal is to increase us to 6 per year. I don't know why they would have an argument against it, except for monetary hospitals trying to find their own bottom line type of thing. But the goal is for increasing the size of the residency, and we certainly have the patient population here to do it. And the breadth of pathology, because when I moved here as a resident, I was getting sign out and I was told that there was a patient with Navajo neurohepatopathy, and I was like, cool, I need to Google that. I had no idea that existed. So there's a lot of interesting pathology out here. What other weird things can I tell you about our program? Everybody else went into such detail. Our call, night float only. It's home call except for ICU admissions. It's about 6 weeks a year, but that's going to be divided evenly up among the amount of residents that we have. So as our program grows, obviously it'll be a little bit less call. Adult residents do not do night float. So I think that's definitely a plus because you have an idea of what's coming in at night, and you have you know that the hospital is going to be understood appropriately, and you're not going to have to be worried about anything going on overnight. For adult residents, we get those from St. Joe's, the Barrow Neurologic Institute that's down the street, which is where you do your adult year. We also get residents from Mayo. And there is a new Honor Health adult residency supposedly opening here in the Valley, and we'll be picking up those residents. And then for your adult year and all of your adult rotations, it's just at the Barrow, which is 2 miles from Phoenix Children's on the same road. So we don't have you guys go to the VA. There's more than enough pathology there. Trust me, I did my training here. And then I think that's about all of the exciting stuff. When it comes to feedback, just like in other programs, you hear, hey, we take your feedback very seriously. We send out biannual surveys just internally, and it's not just to our residents, it goes to our medical students, the adult neurology, psych, peds, anybody who rotates through with us to get a sense. Sorry, I have a dog and he has opinions. to get a sense of what people are finding good, finding bad. And from that is when we developed the night float system. That's how we decided to switch to having outpatient peds in your fourth year or in your third year as well. So we take a lot of feedback very seriously. I'm not living in your shoes. I can't make changes to support you if I have no idea what's going on. And I think that everybody here will be saying the exact same thing. I think that's all the exciting stuff I have to say. We're fun. We went out for happy hour last night. Um, there was a chicken finger that got tossed on the ground. That's about it. That's all I got. Thank you.
Sounds good. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing more about your program. Dr. Nelson, last but not least, you want to go ahead?
Sounds good. So thank you for having me. I appreciate this. This is our first year. We decided not to do our own separate virtual house because of you all doing these sorts of things. This is very helpful, so I appreciate that. So I'm here to talk about NYU Grossman School of Medicine. I'm the program director for child neurology. I have been for well over a decade. So you don't want to come to our program if you don't want to come to New York, because that's where we are. In terms of things, we're a 5-year categorical program. We're the largest child neurology training program in New York. We take 3 categorical trainees per year. We have the busiest metropolitan neurology practice in the city at NYU compared to any of the other programs, and there's many large programs. Um, our hospitals include the main flagship Manhattan VA. Directly north of that is Bellevue. Bellevue is the nation's oldest hospital. It's a public safety net hospital, and it's the flagship hospital for the largest public hospital system in the country. And we can take care of any patient regardless of their ability to pay. And so that's very nice. Directly north of that, we have the New York Medical Examiner's Office, which is jointly affiliated with NYU and Bellevue. And directly north of that, you have the main NYU Langone Health, which for the last 4 years has been rated #1 in the country for neurology and neurosurgery by US News and World Report. Directly north of that, we have the newest, most state-of-the-art children's hospital in Manhattan, the Hassenfeld Children's Hospital. So you can come here. I don't have a car. You can walk to every single thing in Southeast Manhattan the entire 5 years, but you don't want to come to New York and never leave Manhattan because there's 4 other very cool boroughs with lots of fun things to do. There's really nothing that you can't do here. There's nothing that you won't see here from a patient population or a specific disease perspective. Bellevue is the main trauma center for Lower Manhattan, including JFK Airport, LaGuardia Airport, Grand Central Station, Penn Station, and really most of Lower Manhattan. And so all of the interesting traumas come here. We have the main clinics affiliated with the city, so anything for public health is done here. NYU has a formal relationship with the UN, as well as Bellevue serving an international clientele because of their ability to take any patient, regardless of ability to pay, the moment they roll off an airplane. We have specialists in basically every area that you could want. We have trainees who have gone into virtually any area of expertise, and I think we give world-class training because not only have we been ranked #1 for a number of years, we also top the charts for a number of different quality and safety measures. And as a trainee, you want to learn in the safest environment possible. You want to learn in an environment where there's multiple layers of safety nets, a la the Swiss cheese model, where you as a trainee have every way insulated to both learn as much as possible, but not to be able to hurt a patient as you're learning. And so we really offer that with graded levels of supervision throughout all 5 years. All of our residents have passed their boards. All of our residents can be board eligible, but we for general pediatrics if they want. But like many others have already stated, most people don't do that. And we offer a variety of other tracks. We offer a dedicated research track for people who want to give up their general pediatric board eligibility and have more protected teaching time. Research time. We also have a dedicated teaching track. We have a formal mentorship program throughout all years of training. We have a nationally recognized chief neurology resident curriculum that was funded by the ABPN and that has been published and presented nationally and was part of what led into the AAN's chief resident curriculum webinar series that's now going on throughout the years. We also have a lot of other nationally recognized simulation curricula that's been published, presented at the AAN in neurology. I'm going to be talking about some of it at next month's Child Neurology Society annual meeting. So there's really nothing that we don't do. We have the largest combined training program for neurology in the country between our Manhattan and Brooklyn neurology residents, our double board neurology and psychiatry residents, and our child neurology residents. We have more neurology trainees per year and over the course of our residency than anywhere else in the country. Our chair is a former program director, Dr. Steve Galetta, and so he values education highly. Besides myself, we have four other former child neurology residency training program on our directors on our faculty. So we really prize education. Our consult team covers NYU and Bellevue simultaneously, so we can really offer the same state-of-the-art care to both our public and private hospital patients while people really get a chance to see the differences between the public and private systems, healthcare disparities, and sort of the differences between not only the patient populations, but the hurdles you have to overcome to treat them. I'm going to pause and stop there, mainly so that we can move over to questions and stuff like that for the rest of the time. I'm happy to talk more about call structure and various other sorts of things if people have questions about it, but I think I'll turn things back over so we can do question and answer.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much for sharing more about your program. Yeah, we'll go ahead into the question and answer portion. Feel free to type any questions you have into the chat, or if you're feeling brave and want to go on the microphone or turn your camera on, we welcome that as well.
Hi, I'm Anya Ulug. I am a med student at USC in LA, where we do live in traffic. And a question that I had more about structure of the neurology services. I understand that some programs have neurology as a consult service only, and some have teams that take primary and a separate consult team. And I was wondering if you had any perspective about the pros and cons of each structure, and if at all, whether it has an impact on training. Thank you.
I've been through both. And so I did my residency at Columbia, and at the time they had a ward service. Before that, I was a med student at Mayo, and now obviously I've been at NYU. Most places will tell you their version is the best, and they'll talk to you about the pros and the different cons. What I will say is during the 5 years of training, anywhere you go, I think as a pediatric trainee, you will learn how to be the primary caregiver. You will learn how to do dietary orders, IV orders, dealing with social work issues, all of those things. So you will learn that as part of your training. I like the consult model because then at that point you're really focusing on teaching and focusing on the neurologic pathophysiology and treatments and standard of care. Any place that knocks consult services for decreased continuity is doing it wrong. Our consult service covers two pediatric EDs, the one at NYU and Bellevue, the only the only pediatric psychiatric emergency department in the state at Bellevue, two pediatric floors, two neonatal ICUs, two pediatric ICUs. And so we follow as one consult service anywhere. So we actually have continuity the moment someone comes to the ED, goes to the floor, goes to the ICU, bounces back to the floor, goes wherever. If we need to send them to inpatient rehab, we have the Rusk Rehab Hospital, which is part of the NYU Orthopedic Hospital, which is part of our same hospital system. And so we can straight up follow people as they come back and forth, including acute inpatient neurologic pediatric rehab. And so I like the consult model, but anyone else should speak up if they have other thoughts.
I'm with Aaron. I've done it both ways. I think it's lovely to do the bread and butter peds for those first 2 years. But I love the fact that right after I graduated, they took feedback from us within the division with my predecessor, Dr. Tony McGrath. And it was, less time doing discharge summaries and less time writing Recefin for UTIs, even though God love them, they needed it. It was more time for them to learn about EEGs right after me and more time with families. And we have a dedicated nurse case manager and social worker that round with us. And so we were able to focus more on making sure that there was great continuity of care with neurology than trying to juggle all the plates. But I still feel like, pediatrics training is super important, but those first 2 years give you enough of that, in my humble opinion. So I'm with Aaron. I think if you're wanting neuro, it's great to just focus on the neuro.
I'll take the other side, I guess. I can't say that I've done both. I've only done how Children's does it, which is that you have your ward service and you have your consult service. What I like about our ward service is that we have the peds residents and a senior resident. And so you really get the role of a fellow and learn how to be the sort of like attending, leading a team of other residents. There's a lot of teaching that goes on there. I'm sure, just like our consult service where we have med students, like there's plenty of teaching that goes on there too. You're in a residency program, so you're going to learn one way or another. You're going to get the teaching, but the opportunity to teach medical students and residents while on rounds is a really nice aspect of it. I also think that for our consult service, there are times when we really feel like we are super engaged with that patient longitudinally, and there are other times when we are not having the time to like have a full sit down conversation about everything that's going on with them. Whereas on the ward service, you do have that time in the afternoons to like really dedicate to the patients that are on your ward service. So that's a benefit. But honestly, I mean, everybody's going to say that the way that they do it is wonderful and the best. And I don't know that the way that we do it is the best because I haven't done it the other way. But those are some of the benefits of how we run our ward service, I think.
Thank you.
We're doing both. We have a consult service, which is the primary, and then we have a ward service, which is consisting of 3 diagnoses. We're very specific. So known migraineurs with a headache, breakthrough migraine, known epilepsy patients who have a breakthrough seizure, and then new onset non-febrile seizures. And there is an agreement with the hospitalist team that if they sneeze wrong, we consulted them. So when it comes to writing, like I don't remember how to, I think 421 is still something you do for IV fluids, but I'm not 100% sure. So they also take anybody under 6 months because one of my biggest fears that I relayed to our program director was we're not going to remember to put D5 in fluids before they go for an MRI in the morning. And I don't need a kid seizing from hypoglycemia because it's not on my radar. So our hospital is also surprised that none of us were pizza certified. So that was fun. But so we're doing a little bit of both. It's very specific the way we're doing it. But the primary service is only for the floor. All of our ICUs, we have separate teams for them, and they are consult only. We do not do any primary in the ICU at all.
Thank you so much. And thank you guys for sharing all of your program information and to those who organized.
Hi, I have a question as well. My name is Usha. I'm from Georgia. I'm also a fourth year med student. Thank you guys for being here tonight. I guess my question is, I think Dr. Magum touched on this a bit, but I was just curious, like how the transition from like the pediatric year to the child neurology year, how that was supported at the programs, or kind of like what that would look like.
I can go first with this one, I guess. We're going to take turns. I think it's really important, and we got feedback. This is QI, just like Jeff said. When I came through the adult year, we were just one resident a year. And so it was the lone child neurology resident walking across the bridge with the sweet PGY ones that have been doing internal medicine. And we were drinking out of a fire hydrant. They were trying to boot camp us on all things NIH stroke scale and all things AFib and all things, and we were going, oh my goodness. And so within a number of years, they developed a curriculum for boot camp for all PGY1s coming out of internal medicine for adult neurology, and then also for the peds people that were coming over, and it lasted a month. And so it was really nice that there was protected time every day for 1 month that our folks and the other folks were excused, and that really worked well. And then also, our folks were never taking call during the day or overnight with a buddy without a senior resident on from adult neurology, and they would stay in house. And so you're really doing like on the job training for the first 3 months of that 9 month period, and really feeling like I've got protection. But I'm learning because the adult year really is about the fundamentals of neurology. You got to learn the exam, you got to learn the bread and butter adult neurology. And you also really have a lot of fun if you're me, and I think probably the other people on this call, of dealing with families. It's just the other end of the spectrum. And so those communication skills are all built with that year. And it's really helpful if you can get prep ahead of time. So I'm so glad you asked this question because it's definitely something over the last several years we've tried to improve on.
Terms of transition sort of from year to year and how to handle that. Since since we have people essentially on site in the same health systems for all 5 years, we're really able to sort of do it at each step. So when our trainees come in as PGY1s, they do all of the pediatric residency orientation stuff and boot camp, same as all of the other pediatric residents. Then they have the advantage that even during the first couple of years, they at times rotate through the child neurology clinic and what will become their child neurology continuity clinic because the pediatric residents rotate through the child neurology clinics. And so they have the opportunity to work with their more senior co-residents as well as the faculty earlier in that situation. And then also because we're a consult service, wherever a patient comes in, one of our neuroinflammatory disease patients followed in our MS center, one of our pediatric neuro-oncology patients, all of those patients, whenever they come in, it's going to be a pediatric resident, including our residents during their first 2 years who are seeing them, whether it's in the ED or in the floor or the ICU, following them. If child neurology is consulted, they're calling one of our more senior child neurology residents who's supervising a team of medical students and adult neurology residents. And so they directly are interacting and learning how to call the consults, what to do, getting guidance from our senior residents that way. And then when they transition from pediatrics to adult neurology during the third year, which our third year is not all adult neurology, but it's mostly adult neurology more than anything else, they do the entire adult neurology boot camp with all of the transitioning adult neurology residents. They have a buddy system. They're not by themselves the first time they're on call, all of those things as well. And then when they're doing things through our overnight call, which is through a night float system as well, then the in-house junior neurology residents are seeing both adult neurology and child neurology patients and are potentially staffing things with our more senior child neurology residents and fellows and attendings, same way they would staff with a stroke fellow or an attending. And so again, so we're talking to then our PGY3s who have also then started our child neurology continuity clinic. And so we're seeing them there. And then by the time they transition into the fourth and fifth year, that's when they're on the consult service. And people have mentioned sort of having pretending months and stuff like that. We have a very graded scope of practice elevation where our PGY4s do things one way on the consult service, and then our PGY5s do it a different way, even though they're both rotating through with different levels and are learning then how to teach and how to do those sorts of things, not only from didactics and lectures, which they do in grand round style presentations, but also here's how you teach a medical students. A lot of our neurology department runs the preclinical clerkship, and so we do a lot of small group teaching and we'll actually enlist the residents. And as I said, we have an educator track, and part of that is learning how to teach small groups, individuals, bedside precepting, lectures, doing all of those sorts of things for people who are interested in careers as medical educators.
I mean, you heard what we do. We have that extra block that we steal them for. And it does, is everybody's saying it's a graduated autonomy. So we allow you to do what you're capable of doing, and each person is treated differently. So I mean, I'm the ICU, the NICU, the neuro ICU doc on. And if somebody has a question, it's a PGY 5 minutes from graduating. If the question is, do I provide Ativan or not? They don't need to call me for that. Um, but again, that's just something that I think every residency program does. When it comes to formalized in place transitions, we do have that year between, or the block between your PGY2 and PGY3 years.
I have to say that formalized block is so cool. I'm so jealous. I don't really have much else to say other than how jealous I am of that. I know that's not great for my program, but like, so I wish we had that. That's so cool. Um, we uh, we do a lot of what these other programs do. The main thing that I would say is, first of all, go Georgia. I'm from Georgia, and so Georgia's great. The second thing I would say is that we have a boot camp for our threes through fives that is repeated every year. And then the threes also do the boot camps with the adult neurology people. We have a buddy wards when they're back at children's, but they also have buddy calls to start their adult years. So there's built-in supports that way. I think most programs are going to find do the same thing. But I do wish that we had the same thing that Phoenix has, where we could steal you for a month of transition. That'd be cool.
Hello. First, I would like to thank you all so much for this event. My name is Farhstein, and I'm an IMG, but live in Georgia too. I have two questions. Yes, I have two questions. The first one, what qualities do you value the most in an applicant? And the other one is for Dr. Strelzik. So you mentioned that you have reserved for physicians positions. Would you please tell us more about the eligibility requirement for these positions?
Yeah, I guess I'll start. Uh, the reserve position just means that you have to have or that you are completing 3 years of pediatrics. And so after you've completed that, if all that you need is your years of neurology training, then you can then you're eligible for an adult for a reserve position. And you can find all the eligibility requirements on our website too, but it's the same eligibility requirements that you would need for applying for a categorical position, just for someone who is finishing up their full pediatrics training. In terms of what we look for in residents, I would say the most important thing for us is like curiosity, people who are genuinely interested in learning more and sort of searching for the things that interest them the most. I think that adult learning theory tells me that when you are motivated to learn is when you are learning the things that interest you the most. And so for people that really have that interest and that curiosity, the learning comes naturally. And I think that that's a really strong characteristic in most successful trainees.
Guess I'll go next. I get to be number two. But for what I'm looking for in a resident is a good human, first off, and then second off, somebody who is interested. So I have had residents have very, very poor interactions with some of the applicants the night before whenever we do a little Zoom get together, and then they have passed that information along to me. And depending on what they say, it really affects where I rank or not rank. So be a good human. One of them told me that they wanted to do epilepsy to help with their exorcisms. And that I cautioned them against telling other places that. But that individual did not match here. So that be a good human, and be curious. Know what you don't know. I think that's probably the biggest advice I can tell anybody.
From my perspective, I always sort of balk because I don't think there is one thing. My assumption is ideally we can hopefully teach anyone who makes it to this point good child neurology. And so then what I want is based off of what the future holds. And so either selfishly, our goal as a program is to train people that we can recruit to stay here as fellows and faculty, or you're not going to stay here as fellows and faculty and you're going to go somewhere else. And so either way, I'm like, well, then what will make people succeed at that point? And the real thing I think that separates people who succeed at that point um, depends on how you define success. And for better or for worse, I want someone who will be able to go on and do something more or beyond just be a good clinician, which sounds terrible. To be clear, I think that's the first and foremost important thing. Yes, is to be a good clinician and take care of sick children, which is, I think, a genuinely noble calling. But like, I want someone who's gonna be able to push the envelope. That could be research, that could be starting a new subspecialty clinic, that could be starting or expanding an educational training program. But as you'll find, once you're out of strict formalized training, no one's going to make you do that. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes on with poking and prodding to get people to complete all their requirements to get through medical school, to get through residency, including child neurology residency. But like past that point, if you're really going to do those next things, it has to be someone who is self-motivated and has vision that they're passionate about or that they're going to be driven for. And so that's what I look for. I'm looking for, when you're applying to medical school, you're really trying to be like, I'm smart enough and good enough to get into medical school. You should let me in. And then when you're applying to child neurology, a lot of it is like, well, here's why I will be a good child neurologist or why I'm interested. But then once you get into like fellow or faculty positions, it's really like, well, what are you going to build? What are you going to do? What are you going to do that adds something? And I think the thing that you can't teach, because as people have mentioned, just as everyone is fully formed adults and are adult learners, most of our personality traits are baked in, is looking for someone who is motivated and who has something that they really want to do. And I think that that's very powerful.
I love that. I am probably going to echo the sentiments, just maybe in a few different words. We want people that are lifelong learners. We want people who have dreams to help children and families in novel ways because child neurology, I'm sure all of you guys know, looks different all the time. There are some things that I learned that are completely hogwash now. And I'm better for it because I'm having to keep up with the latest and the greatest, and I'm surrounded by people that push me. And I think that that's our job as faculty is to help people that choose to train with us find their dreams and find out how they learn the best. We are very clinically heavy. We make it so that our faculty are helping our trainees balance time to learn and caring for kids. But we want people that can handle seeing the children. If you need to see a few patients a day and then spend hours reading, we're probably not the program for you, but we wish you just amazing things in your career. But we want to make sure that you're able to see the bread and butter and the rare diseases. And so you have to be open to that and ready to move and motivated, and be able to work in teams. We think that's really important. From our nurses to our staff, to the people at the front desk, we want people that are ready to communicate well and work together because it's a village that makes child neurology work. So I think that teamwork, that humility to know that what we don't know, and to really be able to find your dream is what we're looking for.
Can I just say we're also looking for people who are willing to dress up on theme days. It's really important at a pediatrics hospital. So check out
Jeff,
our Instagram for our Labubu theme day from today.
Jeff, Halloween is coming.
Oh, don't I know it?
And it's
Don't I
Friday, so
know it?
we'll be at the hospital probably.
That's right. Sure will.
I love the Labubu theme day. So yeah, you guys rocked it out. That was great. I know we ran a little bit late, but I really appreciate the program directors tonight and their time and their insight for all the applicants. Thank you all so much for joining us this week as we put on 3 fantastic panels. Thank you so much to our program directors tonight. And look out for more NMatch things that will come out throughout this season. We'll likely have a resident panel, some mock interview signups, and that sort of thing. So please stay out on the lookout on our social media and have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks for
much.
having us.
Mhm.
Thanks, y'all.